Brought to you by Penguin. My Autobiography by Charles Chaplin. Read by Steve John Shepherd. Introduction by David Robinson. Chapter 1 begins in forthright Victorian biographical style. I was born on 16th of April 1889 at 8 o'clock at night in East Lane, Walworth. When my autobiography appeared in 1964, this was itself a revelation. The hundreds, quite literally, of books that had been devoted to Chaplin had vaguely placed his birth here, there, and everywhere, even Fontainebleau, and no birth certificate exists to settle the question. But here, for the first time, we had Chaplin's word for it, and into the bargain, his credentials as a true South Londoner, since only a local would name East Street, its official name, as East Lane, the style lane being popularly applied to any metropolitan thoroughfare that boasts a market. And thereafter the revelations, particularly about the privations of his early life and the precocious discovery of his gifts as a performer, were prodigal. At 75 years old, Charles Chaplin finally told his own story, at length. On its first appearance, the book attracted enormous and worldwide attention. It has been translated into upwards of 25 languages, as well as scepticism on various counts. It must, some said, have been written in collaboration with a ghost. Because that is how Hollywood biographies are made. All the evidence, though, is that the book was a solo authorial effort. His family remembered how Chaplin would kiss his wife Una goodbye and retire to his library for 3 concentrated sessions every day, just like going to the office. Chaplin himself complained to Ian Fleming that his secretary was forever trying to improve his English. He said he was not surprised, as he had taught himself the language and suspected that his secretary knew it far better than he did, but, even so, he liked his own version and hoped that some of what he had actually written would survive the process of editing. Leonard Russell, anticipating serial publication of the book in the Sunday Times, was rebuked by the original publisher, Max Reinhardt of the Bodley Head, when he inquired discreetly if the author had a collaborator. Mr. Reinhardt looked shocked, offended even. Surely we couldn't think that Chaplin, a man who wrote his own scripts, directed his own films, composed his own music, would seek outside help with his own memoirs. Every word would be written by Chaplin. He would swear an affidavit on that. Reinhardt was right. Chaplin had a lifelong compulsion to do everything himself, even down to wanting to play every role in each of his films. His ideal was to find actors and actresses who would faithfully imitate and reproduce his own interpretation of their parts. In writing for films, he had developed his own routine. He would begin by dictating to a secretary or scribbling a draft, usually in pencil, in his own rapid script and often doubtful orthography. This would be neatly typed, with discreet corrections of the spelling, after which Chaplin would revise and correct and scribble and return it for a retype. The process was repeated until he was satisfied. This seems to have been the method with my autobiography. The style, in any case, is too distinctive and too consistent with earlier memoirs, My Wonderful Visit in 1922 and A Comedian Sees the World in 1933, to be anything but his own work. There are the appealing idiosyncrasies of the self-educated writer. Chaplin had little formal schooling, and painstakingly and late acquired the skills of reading and writing. In the process, he was fascinated by words and the desire to discover new ones. He described how he kept a dictionary beside him, and endeavoured to learn one new word every day. Thus, at any point throughout his life, he will be preoccupied with his most recent verbal finds. At the time of my autobiography, they included ineffable, levitus, aposiopesis, esurient. While he joyfully writes, I was not frantically ebullient about his prognostications. Yet alongside this self-conscious verbalizing, he has a natural expressive gift that constantly results in striking, even poetic phrases. A vibrant, expressionist recollection of the sights and scents of late Victorian Lambeth concludes, From such trivia, I believe my soul was born. The new Waterloo Bridge, although beautiful, meant little to me now.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?